Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a pre-recorded session of a valued message, Gen X spoken word. Find somebody who knows somebody to tell somebody about what we've got going on over here. If you like it, let me know. Share it if you do, and subscribe if this is what you're looking for. Excuse me. All right, let's go ahead and just get rolling into this because, as I said, this is a message, meaning that we're talking about at least 30 minutes or less. So we're going to keep this from being a full show, but just enough to where we can wrap in information. It's going to be a little bit tighter because I'm going to start presenting more of these condensed shows. Again, it's going to be in either message format or a short. But I'm still going to make sure there's enough information that you walk away with to start looking at what's going on around you and start realizing that we need to get active, get involved, and for the most part, we need to wake up. Public service announcement. As always, I'm going to make sure we do this enough until you get it, folks. We need to get woke again. Why do we need to get woke? Because when our knowledge expands, inspiration soon follows. We've been asleep at the wheel now, folks, for about 5 or 6 years. It's time to get re-engaged. Going forward, tonight's show, Trump's biggest losers. Now, when I talk about Trump's biggest losers, I'm talking about 20 people that Trump brought with him into his administration right out of the gate who had lost their respective races trying to get into government. That's the best way that I can put this. These are folks who the voters said, we don't want you. Carry your asses on. But as people have learned when dealing with Donald Trump, if you're in the Republican Party, when your, bid for office starts flaming out, if you make sure to put in a good word about Donald Trump and he's watching, he will try and find, or should I say, he will find use for you. And that's what's happened with these 20 people that I'm going to make mention here, all right? So without any further ado, because I bring my notes, let's go ahead and get into this. So right off the bat, we have an individual by the name of Sean Parnell. He resigned from government due to scandal back in 2022, a domestic issue. And he is now the spokesman for the Pentagon, Mehmet Oz. Now, many of you should remember him from being on television from a crew, I guess they call themselves the Doctors, but there was a television show with doctors at one point in time. Mehmet Oz was one of them. So he lost his bid for a Senate seat in Pennsylvania in 2022, but he was appointed to run Medicare and Medicaid, which have been cut. So I don't know if the guy still has the job or not. Kelly Loeffler. I don't know if anyone remembers here, but I believe she owned a WNBA basketball team. But nonetheless, she lost the bid for a Senate seat in Georgia in 2020. Trump appointed her to be the head of the Small Business Administration. David Perdue. He lost the bid for a Senate seat in Georgia in 2020 as well. Trump appointed him as the ambassador of China. Doug Collins lost the bid for a Senate seat in Georgia in 2020 as well. He was appointed by Trump to run the VA, Veteran Affairs. Herschel Walker. He lost the bid for the Senate seat in Georgia in 2022. And Trump has appointed him as the ambassador to the Bahamas. Carrie Lake lost her bid for governor in 2022 and a Senate seat in 2024. Trump appointed her to run the Voice of America. And this is public broadcast, by the way. A Lori Chavez Derrimer. She lost a bid for a House seat in Oregon in 2024. Trump appointed her to run the U.S. Labor Department. Brandon Williams lost the bid for a House seat in New York in 2024. Trump has appointed this guy to, get this, run the National Nuclear Security Administration. Red flag, anybody? Lee Zeldin lost run for governor in 2024. I forget where he was. I think it was governor for New York, yes. He is now running the EPA. We see how good that's going. Again, people, these are folks that I'm reading to you who lost election for seats, but Trump brought them into his administration. Carolyn Levitt, she lost a bid for a seat in New Hampshire in 2022. Of course, everyone knows that she is the White House press secretary. Linda McMahon, Vince McMahon's wife, the wrestling magnate. She lost bids for Senate seats in Connecticut in 2010 and 2012. And of course, she is running the Department of Education, running it slap into the ground. Tulsi Gabbard, she used to be a Democrat, but she switched over to the Republican Party. She ran for the presidency in 2020, to which we know Joe Biden won. She had a very dismal campaign, to say the least. And as you know, she was appointed by Trump to be the Director of National Intelligence. Whew, if your eyes aren't burning right now, folks, they should be. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, this guy has been the pusher of major vaccine myths, fronting vaccine hesitancy. The guy is not a doctor, but every time you look around, he has always been affiliated with some type of medical issue, medical activity, something to do with vaccines, claiming autism, you name it. So we know that he's tried to run for the presidency in 2024, failure. But like most people, he talked his way into Trump's good graces, and Trump has made him the lead or the head of Health and Human Services, to which, again, we've had a measles outbreak that started about 3 or 4 months ago that you don't hear in the news anymore. We hadn't had an issue with measles in almost 10 years or longer until he got into office and started this shit again, pardon my language, of that we don't need vaccines. Measles are okay. They'll go away. It's not an issue. And we saw that we had 2 measles deaths before they took it out of the news rotation. So who knows what's going on? And this was in Texas, by the way. Enough of my rant. Harmeet Dillon. Now, she lost the bid to be the RNC chair back in 2023. She has been appointed to run the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. And we see how bad that's working out. Sam Brown lost a Senate bid in Nevada in 2024. He was appointed as the Undersecretary of Memorial Affairs at the Veteran Affairs Office. David Wilden lost bid for state legislation in Florida in 2024. He is now running the CDC. Dan Bishop lost a bid for the House, I think it was Attorney General in North Carolina in 2024. He is now the number 2 guy at the Office of Management and Budget. Bo Hines, who lost a bid for a House seat in North Carolina in 2022. He was appointed to Trump's crypto board. And last but not least, we have an individual by the name of Joe Kent, who lost consecutive bids for House seats in Washington in 2022 and 2024. He was put in charge of the National Counterterrorism Center. Now, count that up, folks. 20 people who've got no business being a part of this government who lost bids, and Trump still picked them up because they had shown that they would be loyal to him. Here, let me get you guys to feast your eyes on this just to see this mess. 100% mess. Can you believe this? Again, 20 folks, as I called out, who lost their elections, aka election losers, given jobs, or should I say gifted jobs in the new administration. Of course, I had to make sure I got this shot of Rachel Maddow smirking. Well, I don't know how many people who are watching this were even aware. I'm betting a majority of you may not have been, but if you weren't, now you are. So when you see things that are going off the rails right now, understand that these people lost their elections, but are loyalists, sycophants to Donald Trump, hence why they have the positions that they do. Or is enough to make you mad, and if you're not mad, damn it, you should be. We are watching extremists who have taken over the government, and they are looting, rooting, and doing whatever they can right now, all in the name of Project 2025, which Donald Trump denied any knowledge of, but yet if you look at it, they're running right down the list. As I've said in previous shows, I've got something coming up to where we can take a close look, or if not a full look at 2025, we'll look at what's been implemented up until now. Moving along. I'm not sure if anybody's been keeping in touch, but if not, Donald Trump is now running his rhetoric again, complaining about the fact that the Smithsonian is, well, what can we say? It's dedicated in teaching people about slavery. It's to the point Donald Trump is now complaining, why are we talking about slavery so much? Why are we not dealing with American exceptionalism? Too much talk about slavery. There's too much that we can talk about other than slavery that's good for America, that's good for the country. Have a listen. Oh, this dude. Trump escalates attacks against Smithsonian museums, says there's too much focus on how bad slavery was. President Donald Trump escalated his campaign to purge cultural institutions of materials that conflict with his political directives on Tuesday, alleging museums were too focused on highlighting negative aspects of American history, including how bad slavery was. In a Truth Social post, Trump directed his attorneys to conduct a review of museums, comparing the effort to his crackdown on universities across the country. Said Trump, the Smithsonian is out of control, where everything discussed is how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was, and how unaccomplished the downtrodden have been. Nothing about success, nothing about brightness, nothing about the future, Trump wrote. Trump's comments come days after the White House announced an unprecedented sweeping review of the Smithsonian Institution, which runs the nation's major public museums. The initiative, a trio of top Trump aides, wrote in a letter to Smithsonian Institution Secretary Lonnie Bunch III last week, aims to ensure alignment with the president's directive to celebrate America's exceptionalism, remove divisive or partisan narratives, and restore confidence in our shared cultural institutions. So, if we're going to bring up American exceptionalism, let me do this for everybody one more again. 20 people who lost their respective elections to get into government that Trump brought over into his administration because they would be loyal to him. Everyone take a look at the marquee scrolling right now. This is, by conservative definition, true DEI. Didn't earn it. Furthermore, listening to Trump talk about exceptionalism. Does everybody remember when COVID hit? Donald Trump said, stop counting all of these COVID cases because it's making my administration look bad. If we don't count them, it won't look as bad. The same thought process Donald Trump had when at first he was leading Joe Biden in the 2020 election. Stop counting all the votes. You know, if you stop counting the votes right now, I'm in the lead. You know, I can win this thing. And now we're hearing him say, why are we talking about slavery? Oh, let's not talk about slavery. We've got other things we can talk about. We've got American exceptionalism that we can emphasize. Let's not talk about this. So therefore, if we talk about American exceptionalism, we're going to talk about the things that he considers great. But here's the problem with that. It leaves out everybody else who may not be considered exceptional under his tasking that has been hit or should I say everyone who's been hit with DEI. You see the pattern here? You must see the pattern. Anything that is going to reflect negatively, well, let's root it out. Let's pretend that nothing is going on. Let's act as if what we're talking about is not that big a problem. Let's just shift focus someplace else. There was a song at one point in time, I recall, by, I want to say it was Bing Crosby. I think it was called Accentuate the Positive. Matter of fact, let's do this. I'm not going to play all of the song, but I just want you to hear what Trump's groove is right about now. Again, we're talking about forgetting all about slavery and what it's done to Black culture, to Black people. Let's not talk about that because that's a distraction. Fair use, fair use.
Negative, latch on to the affirmative. Don't mess with Mr. In between. You got.
And that is literally what Trump is trying to do. He wants to say that we need to accentuate the positive. But the problem is that the negative is also part of the history that makes up this country. Obviously, you can't make this up. There's no need to, because it's real and it exists. So let's go one step further here. Now, there was a show that Abby Phillips did a few days ago where they caught Trump in a flip, meaning that once again, he said stuff way back when that is not going to reflect well on him right now. President Trump says one of the reasons for his crackdown on Smithsonian museums is everything discussed is how bad slavery was. Now, Abby had folks on a panel where they discussed what Trump had said back in 2017. So we're not going to get too far into the panel here, but I want to make sure that if you want to go out and find the article, here it is right now. But I'm only going to capture just the words that we see of Donald Trump going back on what he had to say about the Smithsonian from 2017 up until now. Fair use, fair use.
I had the privilege of visiting the National Museum of African American History and Culture right here in Washington, D.C. It's a new, beautiful Smithsonian museum that serves as a shining example of African Americans' incredible contributions to our culture, our society, and our history. It also tells of the great struggle for freedom and equality that prevailed against the sins of slavery and the injustice of discrimination. The work and love of the people who helped create such a masterpiece is a testament to the legacy of so many leaders it honors.
So was it that he didn't believe what he read from the teleprompter as he recorded that video, or what?
Yeah. Did he not believe what he was reading? Of course he didn't believe what he was reading. All he was doing was just saying what needed to be said to make sure that he seemed appealing to everyone before he got into the mischief and the mess that he's cutting into now. But let's also remember back in 2017, we had the Unite the Right, I guess this get together, whatever you want to call it, that went down in Charlottesville, where we had an individual who was killed. This is also the same place where Donald Trump said there's good people on both sides. Now, back in 2017, the way that the political landscape was, if you said one or two things crazy like that, you were gone. You were forced to resign. You were you were put to the sideline. But no, Donald Trump weathered the storm with every last divisive piece of rhetoric, turning his back on his own intelligence community, sharing classified information with visiting prime ministers from Japan, including Russians in the Oval Office. And he has made it to where he is right now because the Conservative Party has turned a blind eye to everything that he has done, and he is dismantling democracy as we know it. Different show. But as I said here, Trump's biggest losers are helping him do what is happening to the country right now, which is taking a shovel to any and everything that is the foundation, and they are digging it out and throwing it over their shoulders. Well, that's all I've got right about now, folks. Like I said, this is going to be a quick message, 30 minutes or less, but I appreciate anyone who's taking time to watch it. If you know anyone who is not aware of what's going on over here, by all means, let them know. Share this out, and please subscribe. If you like it, let me know. Share it if you do, and subscribe if this is what you're looking for. Again, thanks for those who are watching it. Subscribe, share, and we'll talk again. John Henry out.